Hi everyone, how's everyone doing here today? Thank you for watching, and man, what a beautiful day it is out. It's nice and sunny, clear skies, hardly any noise except for the waves in the background. Perfect for this type of atmosphere and stuff like that. So I wanted to talk about a couple of things today, specifically messaging and most importantly communicating, because there's been some recent things going on. Now, some people have asked, why do I do this? Why do I create this kind of content? And let's be honest, it's mostly political. Although there's some recreational stuff I do, but when it comes to the face-to-face interviews where I'm just talking, it's usually politics. And by now, people already know, or who know me, either by content that they've seen or know me personally, that I'm more left-leaning rather than right-leaning. Now, obviously, I'm more in favor of Biden over Trump, but I didn't really want to specifically talk about them. One person reached out to me and he gave some criticisms, mostly constructive, but he was in opposition to some of the things I do, and he made some claims which I wanted to talk about. And he also makes a certain comparison between Biden and Trump, something very specific, which I'm not going to get into here and now because that's better for a separate video all on its own. Now, he made the claim where he says, I'm kind of regurgitating what other people do. I'm more like a parrot. Well, I'll just come out and say it. He's absolutely right. He is. I watch a lot of other people's content. People like groups like the Young Turks, other podcasts, David Pakman, David Dole, Jesse Dollemore. And through them we get snippets of those that I don't like to listen to. I'm not a big fan of like Tim Pool, Jim Shapiro. I'm not saying if you are that's bad. I'm just saying we all live in our echo chambers. Let's face it. Everybody lives pretty much in an echo chamber. We choose to listen to things that we find to be truthful. Now, whether or not it's true, that's open to debate. But there's another content creator. I'm blanking on her name right off the top of my head, but I'll leave her information down in the comment section below, because she talked a lot about communicating, and I think that's a very important thing. So this one person, who criticized me, felt that, like I said, I tend to criticize one, not the other. This is true, but at the same time, if I see a lot of bad things happening on one side as opposed to the other, I'm going to talk more about that side that's committing bad things or acts that we might consider questionable. Now, if you're putting out messaging that's meant to intimidate or threaten people simply because you disagree with them, I got news for you. That's not patriotic. That's more like the mob boss mentality. And that comes to the other part, as I mentioned before, and that is communicating, which I think is essential. Because in spite of what's going on in the politics, there is a considerable divide between the people. Whether you want to see it by the left or the right, or the red or the blue states. But there is a lot of division going on out there. And the only way to mend that is to try and talk and communicate more with others. So I don't mind taking the time to address certain comments. As I said before, yeah, I do a lot of regurgitating, but it's usually passing on messages that I really believe to be true, that I really feel are important to talk about. Now, I try and put my own ideas into it or my own spin on it, but, let's face it, I get a lot of content and ideas from other people. And sometimes, I feel it's important to regurgitate that or repeat that. And that to me is all about messaging. First, as I said before, that's the key thing why I like to do this. I like to get a certain message out there. Now, some people might say, well, so what? What's so important about you? Why should we listen to you? And the answer is, not a thing. I'm just your average person. I'm your average Joe. I'm not wealthy. I don't have like a significant job, or I don't really do anything that'll bring about tremendous change. I talk about charity. I talk about getting involved, things like that. But I'm no Mother Teresa. I'm just your average person. And if you really don't like my views, if you really don't believe in them and you decide not to watch them, that's fine. You have the right not to subscribe. You have the right to block my videos if you want. If you really find my content that disagreeable and you don't want to watch it anymore, then that's what you have then do what you have to do. I get it. I understand. I'm not going to take it personal. And some people even say, like, well, you only got a few followers. This is also true. I can't deny that. It'd be nice if I had more. But there's one thing to keep in mind is I'm not doing this for fame. I'm not getting paid to do this. And even if I had like millions and millions of followers like some of these other podcasts do, or content creators, I should say, which is pretty much more where I fall under as far as category, would I accept any money? Probably not. I'm not going to outright say no, I definitely wouldn't, but I'm not really interested in the financial aspect of it, okay? I'm putting time in to try and just get a message out there, the right message. I'm creating this content to try and get people to do the right thing, or at the very least, consider it. And if they don't consider it, then we should at least talk about it, regardless of what the subject is. That goes back to the point I made before, is about communicating. Somebody made, because that's how we can heal the divide. Let's face it, we're not all robots, we're not all going to agree on the same things, but there are some basic fundamentals that we can agree on. I'll just give you a quick example. I think everybody in America should have health care, period. How we do it, how we pay for it, that's a whole nother discussion. But just, the basic idea, everybody should have health care. I think it's safe to say most people would agree with that, regardless if you live in a red state or a blue state or in more like a purple district, regardless of what your political beliefs are. I think you would agree with me on that, especially if you're one who either doesn't have health care or knows someone who's in that situation, and just how serious that can be, when it comes to something that might happen, like an accident or a sickness. Those things we can't agree on. As to who brings that about and how, or which party does that, well, that's where some of the differences come in. But that's where we need to talk, okay? I've had discussions with some people where, after a while, whether it's friends or somebody I don't know, I'll just say, like, okay, in the end, you're not going to sell me on this one candidate that you strongly believe in any more than I'm going to sell you on the candidate that either I believe in or that I'm voting for, because I think that person can bring about change. However, I think we can all agree on some things. And what I would say to this individual that reached out to me, he actually took the time to reach out to me, even though I have very few followers, which he was quick to point out, which I mentioned, he's right. I hope to get more one day, but if that doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. I still want to get the message out. Why would you reach out to me if I have that short of an audience? Something I said or some video I put out there got to you and somehow get under your skin. Now, I'm not saying that as a way to like throw stones like, yeah, I made you blink. No, I don't know specifically what the catalyst was, but something made you stop and reach out to me. And here's the other bottom line, which is also important to know, is that regardless of our differences, regardless of the type of content I put out, usually the criticism is against a certain individual or group for something they did that is really bad or really questionable. Now, you may disagree, that's fine. But to me, I'll leave it as hating sin, but not the sinner. In other words, I am opposed to certain candidates, but that doesn't mean I hate the people that vote for them. Which leads me to say that if I put out content there that you really don't like, here's the bottom line. It doesn't make me your enemy. It really doesn't. That's another essential thing to think about when it comes to communicating. We are still all Americans. I once talked about a situation, and I mentioned this recently to a friend that we were talking politics to, in a constructive way, whereby somebody did an interview with members attending a Trump rally. And it wasn't full-fledged MAGA, but what these interviewers did, I don't know who they were, they actually sat down and talked to the people, not so much about the candidate, but just about, hey, what are some of the issues that you have? And believe it or not, they gave some very legitimate, understandable answers. Things like the economy, they were a little worried about being able to make enough money. So there are ways we can do things and solve problems, and that's where the communication comes in, because we can't all be dependent on just voting for one person every 4 years and hoping that things are going to change. Yeah, you could do that, but that's, to me, is like the bare minimum. I think we should do more, and that's why I think we should talk more. And guess what? For those of you who are opposed to my content, you are free to leave whatever comments you want. I would just say, be respectful about it. More importantly, you can create content too. I've had people send me links to other sources when they're trying to make a point. Like they'll make some type of claim, somebody did that recently, and I'm saying, your claim is a little vague, can you be more specific, or can you show me where you're getting this, how you're drawing your conclusions from, what data, what information? I'd be curious to see it. And I'll give it a watch, and I'll be open-minded about it as best as I can. But for the most part, I'm here to put out a message. In a nutshell, I'm opposed to things like racism or any type of discrimination, whether it's transphobia, homophobia, or Islamophobia, xenophobia. So if you're somebody who's bigoted, yeah, chances are you're not going to like my content. Even though I'm more left-leaning, that doesn't mean I'm not sympathetic towards the right. But if you're like the far-right extremist who believes in violence and stuff like that, yeah, then there's not a whole lot we can talk about, because I am opposed to violence. Somebody made that claim to me too once. They said, you once put in your bio, you said, can we all just get along? But you say a lot of things that are just not nice. Well, as I said before, I'm criticizing the people that are doing things that are questionable. Now, if you think I'm wrong, if you want to defend that person, that's fine. Leave a comment and explain to me why you think I'm wrong. And I'll respond in kind. I've had back and forths online with people I don't know where it's lengthy messages. Some people think it's a waste of time. I don't believe that. Like I said, that goes with the communication part, because people can change. And sometimes people can point me in a direction or show me something that might alter my beliefs a little bit. There's a big difference between changing yourself a little bit, changing your views a little bit, without sacrificing your values. Okay? Again, it's about communication and it's about messaging. That's what I'm here for. And I'd like to hear people out. So, if you can, please subscribe. If you want to leave a comment, by all means, feel free. Just be respectful. If you're going to put some mean remark, I'm not going to respond to it. But, you know, I do like to hear what other people have to say. Even if it's somebody that I don't know, that I've never met before, or somebody that is totally the opposite of where I stand. Tell me what's on your mind. Tell me your thoughts, because in the end, we're all Americans. I don't want to say we're all in this together, because we all stem from different issues and different circumstances. But bottom line is, there are problems that need fixing, and one of the ways to fix it, the divide, is to talk and stay in touch. So, anyway, thank you for watching. I really hope you understand.